And welcome back. Good to have the voice back. Good news story to wrap up the week. Gavin Williamson vows to correct shocking lack of white working class boys at universities as he warns teachers against trying to indoctrinate pupils with their own political views. And this is particularly shocking, actually coming out of a Conservative government. Bloody good job. But also the Secretary of State for Education. Bloody good job. Actually, somebody who is in the best position in order to make these changes is speaking out about these things, suggests something could get done. Given where it happened in a so-called fireside chat with one of his ex-teachers at the party virtual conference, maybe not, and it would just be something that is buried, and that is why it's being brought up as an aside instead of front page news that, we're actually trying to equal out these opportunities again. But nonetheless, it is something. He said it was a priority to make opportunity as evenly distributed as talent. Bad phrasing. Williamson also took aim at alleged indoctrination of pupils by their teachers, without mentioning left or right wing, but obviously alluding to, I think we know where it's happening. And FIRE and campus reform in the States do try and bring out those topics by getting students to record these conversations happening and the lectures happening at universities in order to show exactly which way they're trying to pin the indoctrination. But when he says it was a priority to make opportunity as evenly distributed as talent, the thing is that with talent, of course, sure, you can try and get correlations with particular groups. You could go down the racial line if you were so inclined, that IQs, for example, is 100 for the Western world. It always is. It is standardized so that it is always 100 for us because we invented the IQ test and we're keeping it. And that's how we work. And through that, we see Orientals or Far East Asians with 110, Ashkenazi Jews at 115, which also correlates to a different kind of group, which is an average university graduate. Or at least it was. Not so sure about that one anymore. And then, of course, if you want to go the other way below 100, then you've got Middle Easterns about 90 and Sub-Saharan Africa's at about 80, for example. If it's below 82, though, the US Army would not accept you into their ranks because you couldn't follow basic instructions. But there we go, just because you can't understand consequences of your actions or follow instructions, essentially. So, back to the topic in hand. He took part in a fireside chat with Peter Ashton, who's all in politics at Scarborough Sixth Form in early 1990s. He also took aim at alleged indoctrination. Yep, okay. So, Mr. Williamson said, white working class young boys are the most underrepresented group of individuals who go on to university. To me, that is a shocking disgrace. It is wrong. It's got to be corrected. We're going to correct that because, as the Prime Minister has said many, many times, talent is incredibly evenly distributed right across the country. Opportunity is not. Again, you can do groups, but it's more than likely that you're going to find particular individuals who stand out way from the bell curve, in which case it isn't an even distribution, and you'll have some people that have done phenomenally well, in which case you're not having opportunity as equal as talent, you're having it even for everybody, so that those few people who do have amazing talent can actually develop their skills. But everybody, ideally, can do what they want to do. In an ideal situation, of course. But hey, that's what we should be striving for, not telling people what to do, but allowing them to do what it is that they want to do. And, as an aside, white working class young boys have been the most underrepresented group of individuals who go on to university pretty much forever. That has just been a fact of life. That has just been true for essentially eternity, or at least modernity. And within that group, more often than not, that is also the group of which the army would recruit most of their soldiers. You would still have people who mean well, who want the best for their country and love the society that they've been brought up in and wish to defend it. As Churchill said, a good soldier does not fight because of what is in front of him, but because of what is behind him. And the same goes here. So they would be prime targets for the army to recruit from. Because, believe it or not, university is not the be-all and end-all. It really, really isn't. And you can even see there's like the 5% of people who don't go to university are employing the 95% of people who do go to university. It's that kind of thing that chances are, to be the absolute best performer, you probably have not gone to university. But for most people, yeah, sure, it's a good idea, but seeing how universities have gone now, and the reason that this is the fact that it is, as in poor white boys are underrepresented, is why universities are not worth going to. They're actually interlinked at present. So, they say last month, new research suggested white working class children are being left behind by the school system, face a lifetime of economic disadvantage, and will be hit hardest by the coronavirus crisis. White? I thought they were saying it was the BAME. Oh. As in it's a financial issue instead of a racial issue. Funny that. However, help to raise educational standards is often targeted at ethnically diverse areas and pupils from minority backgrounds, further stacking the cards against poor white boys and girls, academics said. Yes, and not just minority backgrounds. If you look at places like Birmingham, for example, it's not minorities there. One Oxford University don said the plight of working class white children was seen as unfashionable and not worthy, and he suggests that even raising the issue was taboo, particularly in academic circles, as it was associated with hard-right political thinking. And what's his name? Doesn't want to give it. I wonder why. Is it because he knows that his job would be on the line if he said it? Yep, he does. So they say that white pupils eligible for free school meals are half as likely as their peers from poor ethnic minority backgrounds to achieve strong pass in the GCSEs using schooling tables. They are also more likely to attend a failing school and live in struggling communities in the North and Midlands, as has historically been the case. The North would, of course, say that the South, just given more opportunities in the country, is engineered towards them, and the South say, well, that the North just don't have any work ethic, essentially, and that's why they wanted the unions, because they want to be paid more for doing less, and when they fell through, well, they're just not trying to get employed. They'd rather have benefits than actually earn money. So that is the North-South class divide as well. But nonetheless, it does come from the fact that there is a significantly different economic makeup between the North and South of England, let alone the UK, of course. And then they finish up by saying that there are thoughts that the next year's exams should be reduced because pupils are learning less than they did before, instead of them being scrapped completely, as Boris Johnson has rejected that claim outright. But they might still be simplified down. Well, not quite simplified, but just on fewer topics, which, given that the idea of schooling is to teach you how to think, not what to think, isn't necessarily a bad thing. Because they could simply say, okay, yeah, you've been taught less, but you're going to be questioned harder on what you've learned. Because you could pick a topic of history, so you're going to get an exam on history, and so it's going to be quite broad, and it could cover anything. And then you reduce it down to say you're going to be quizzed on the Cold War, for example. And they go, okay, cool, learn some things about that, and it's quite vague. And then, okay, so now you're going to be questioned about Cold War America. So, okay, cool, so now we've narrowed it down, but there are still going to be a load of questions there. And then it's going to be, well, what about the Bay of Pigs invasion? Now it's going to be all about that, for example. And you see how you can narrow it down and yet still have such a plethora and huge array of questions and things to consider, taking a lot into account. Well, exactly the same goes here. So that isn't necessarily a bad thing, depending on how they wish to roll it out. But as always, let me know down below if you think that, hey, Gavin Williamson, good on you for speaking out, and maybe this will actually be the change that we finally need. Or if he's coming at it from completely the wrong angle and saying, no, universities aren't really that important, and it's more an issue with what is being taught than who is being taught it. Or if you think, well, no, nothing's going to change. He just said this as an aside, and the best that could come out of it is a scandal for him. Or I suppose the best is that nothing happens from this, because if he does try, then there will be a scandal. Either way, let me know down below. Always intrigued to what you have to say. And as always, until next time, stay safe, keep your voice while you've got it, or get it back if you've lost it, and have a good one.